Greetings, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I made a video recently, my last video. It was about an opportunity with justice in our legal system, similar to past videos I've made on the connected subjects. In particular, this one was about crime being legal, quote unquote, and if you have not watched that video, it would be a great primer for this one. It's not required, but it'll explain some of what I'm going to mention in this one. I'm going to mention a subject that's been of extreme debate and controversy and opportunity to be positive about it for, maybe the better part of 100 years now in our country, in America, and that is statutory rape. Most people are familiar with the idea that people under the age of 18, if they have sex with an adult, and it is proven that at the time they were underage, it becomes a crime. And what I'd like to do in this video is mention, in the context of what I discussed previously, how this particular crime is affected by the reality that our justice system is preoccupied with symbolic abuse. What we do is, just to recap, to review what I said in the last video, we do not wait for there to be an injury or a problem. Instead, what we do is we automate justice. We attempt to automate it with precedent. I'll say that again. We create symbols and descriptions of crimes based on past tragedies, real actual crimes that have happened. We describe them, and it's a naive attempt at preventing crime, but what ends up happening is anything that occurs which may fit that description is considered a crime, but it may not be one. That's the problem. It may actually be neutral or even good behavior, and there's tons and tons of examples, and there may actually be examples for every single law on the books of how that particular action should be allowed in some cases, in some circumstances. Now, the point of the last video, for the last thing I want to say about it, is when you're not taking into consideration individual circumstances, you're doing something other than justice. That is not just, you're bypassing due process. You're substituting precedent and symbolism in lieu of justice and due process. So anyway, not to go on and on, but how this pertains in particular to the subject of statutory rape. The spirit of the law, if you can part ways with what you believe you know about our justice system, just for the sake of argument, be objective for a moment and consider that the spirit of the law has always been, from the beginning, that, like I said, if there's an injury, a problem, an objection, that if the victim, the alleged victim, turns out to be underage, there's no more question about it. That's the spirit. However, like I mentioned, there must be an objection. This is the spirit of the rule, the law. There must be some protest. There must be an injury, a trespass of some kind. We're not saying with this law, now this is the problem, we're not saying that an 18-year-old having sex with a 17-year-old, or if you separate their ages by some amount, it becomes criminal. No. We're saying, we should be saying, I should say, that if there is an objection, a problem, a complaint, an injury, or a violation, there's no more question about it if one of them was under 18. So this is a difficult concept, and especially in the context that we're so used to seeing preemptive behavior control, behavior codification. We say such and such is illegal. Well, not before there's a trespass or an injury. No, it's not actually. No, the spirit of our justice system is to be fair, first and foremost. It's to allow freedom, to enable freedom, to pursue the freedom and pursuit of happiness, just like it says in this country's founding documents. Not to make people, not to imprison the citizens. That's not the point of our justice system, but that's what we're doing. We're saying if these descriptions, these legal symbols happen to match what you're doing, we're just going to assume there's a problem. We're going to assume that there was a trespass or an injury or damage of some kind. But no, you can't. It's an order of operations. Like I said in my last video, there has to actually be a substantiated problem or injury or trespass or complaint of some kind. And then you can pursue action, prosecution, documentation, communicating it, prosecuting it, and, invoking the symbols when there's a problem, not before. And this is what we've been doing. So anyway, this is a huge, huge thing, because if somebody who is underage is able to consent, and I guarantee some of them are, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that there are a great deal of youths who are at this point more mature than many of the adults mentally. Their mental age these days is beyond what we have seen ever in human history. That is a fact. And the law is being abused. It's creating problems for everybody. So, in summary and in conclusion, the phrase "you can't rape the willing" is apropos. If somebody is able to consent, and that means they have wherewithal, they understand the proposal, demonstrably they're conscious, the consent it doesn't need to be expressed. It can be implied. It can be retroactive. But they have to be able to consent. Now, that's the problem. And if there ever is a complaint, if they're under 18, that's the end of it. And that's the spirit of the law. Not just if they're under 18, but if there's a complaint and they're under 18. Hope that helps. I mean, I want to see this be applied to every potential infringement upon the freedom of people in general. I think that people are allowed to do whatever they want as long as they're not causing problems. If you have questions or concerns, email me at whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Have a great day.